What can I say? Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada. I apologize to all of you because I'm a little late. It's due, but the upside is that we're deeply, more deeply than normal, realizing what Prabhupada did for us. Because, you know, he left India in 1965 for the first time when he was 70 years old. And he went through all kinds of weather changes and cultural changes, the kinds of cultural obstacles that he had to cross over in order to learn what to say and how to say it to us young Westerners, Americans, in those days was, well, for a whole year. I don't know if any of you have read the first year. There's a diary, you know, no income, 25 cents for a pat of butter, 30 cents for bus. This person came to see me, that person came to see me, and on and on and on, day after day after day after day. And sometimes he would get on the underground and he would just ride it from beginning to end and back. And someone once asked him why he was doing that. And he said, I was studying the character of the American people. So the obstacles he crossed over, and I'm feeling a little jet lagged or a little, you know, weather change, and I'm feeling this or that, or whatever. Here I am, getting day by day deeper appreciation and loving respect for Prabhupada for what he did for us, to give us these books. He took that much trouble, so we should take trouble to read these books. So I apologize also a little bit because of this wonderful photo in back of me. I'm in Ananta Rupa, right in Himkunt Colony, GK1, 110048. So that's right in the heart of the situation. And I'm just very happy to be here. I had planned maybe to cut it a little bit shorter today because of how I feel, but already I'm getting, by your association, surcharged. I'm sitting here with Ananta Rupa Prabhu and Bhakta Austin, who's turning out to be a real gem of a devotee, and he's crossing over all the different hurdles that you cross over when you first travel, first international travel. And he's helped me so much. Anyway, I'm very lucky, I'm very fortunate, so whatever I'm going through, physically or mentally or whatever, that's what it means to have a material body. It is a diseased condition of material, of the soul. And we have to just ignore it as much as possible. And that's what this vow is all about. Okay, enough of that. I may be a little bit, seem like I'm distant from you, a little small and distant from you. That's so that we can get this wonderful photo of Tota Gopinath deity in Jagannath Puri, which is a very prominent feature of the living room of Ananta Rupa and Yamuna Pavani. Ananta Rupa is a disciple of Shivaram Swami, and Yamuna Pavani is a disciple of Bhakti Bigyan Goswami, Russian. Yeah, so let's get into it. Sanatana Goswami's prayer, glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which helps us to go deeper into the Bhagavatam ourselves if we hear it very carefully and try to enter into it, try to understand what this Bhagavatam is. Sanatana Goswami explains it, and it goes like this. Sarva Shastabdipi Yusha, Sarva Vedaika Sadaratnaja, Sarva Lokai, from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths. You are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad-Bhagavata Prabhu, Kalidwan Duditaditya, Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life heir of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad-Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya, Prema Varshaksharayate, Sarvada Sarvasevyaya, Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Mad Sanghin, Mad Guru Mad Mahadana, Mad Nistadaga Mad Bhagya, Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy. I bow down to you. Asadu sadutadayin adinichochatakada hanamunchagadachin. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most, leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we've reached the 27th chapter of the 10th canto. The prayers that Indra is making to Krishna. You remember, Indra committed such heavy offense to the residents of Vrindavan. He tried to kill them just because Krishna interrupted his sacrifice. This shows. And finally, when Krishna exhibited his never happened before and never will happen again, which permanently changed Govardhan, that place, to a place in which whoever goes there feels comfortable. Because all of us have a relationship with Krishna, and everyone feels most comfortable there. I've seen it myself because I've lived there for many, many years. And my dear one, Asit Krishna Swami Maharaj, has lived there all year round since 1994. And he has come to the same conclusion independently. So it was so heavy. So then all the residents of Vrindavan, they actually saw with their own eyes. I mean, a lot of demon, and Krishna killed that demon. I mean, sometimes they see the remnant, or they chop up the body of Putana and burn it, and it smells nice, and days and nights. Krishna is standing there holding this huge mountain on his little finger of his left hand in order to wind up Indra to the max. So then after that intensity, then there's a little chapter called Wonderful Krishna, because the Brajvasis, they became confused. How can he not be God? We saw it with our own eyes. A 7-year-old boy can't do that. And then they all go to Nanda Maharaj, who is the king. And in those days there was real leadership, where you could actually go and have something explained to you properly by the king. And he explained what Gargamuni had said during the name-giving ceremony of Krishna. And he said, this child has come before, and he comes in different colors, and he delivers people, and he says, be very careful with him, because he's as good as Narayan. He didn't say he was Narayan. He said he was good as Narayan, and that gave Nanda Maharaj the, Yogamaya gave Nanda Maharaj that thing to say, so they were all pacified. Oh, okay, anyway, he's so beautiful, he's our village friend, and he's our lover, and he's this and that, so everything's okay. So now, after that, and it was just a short reprieve, Indra's back. And this time, he brought Surabhi, the Surabhi cow, because he was so embarrassed. He brought Surabhi with him because he knew that Krishna loved the cows so much to Krishna. And our acharyas talk about how Krishna barely even paid attention. But he did. He heard him through. So let's hear the prayers of Indra to Krishna. We're starting with text 6 of chapter 27 of the 10th canto. You are the Father, Indra is speaking. You are the Father and spiritual master of this entire universe. You are insurmountable time, imposing punishment upon the sinful for their own benefit. Indeed, in your various incarnations, selected by your own free will, you act decisively to remove the false pride of those who presume themselves masters of this world. So he's speaking from realization, right? Deep realization. Purport. The word hitaya is significant here. Lord Krishna protects religion and chastises the wicked for the benefit of the entire universe. Foolish and faithless pseudo-priests criticize God for punishing the living entities through the actions of nature. But whether Lord Krishna punishes them indirectly through nature or directly in his incarnations, as mentioned here, he has a perfect right to do so, because he is the Father, spiritual master, and supreme ruler of the entire universe. Another way he curbs down the false attempts of the conditioned souls to establish the kingdom of God without God is through his feature as insurmountable time. It is said, spare the rod and spoil the child. This is a fact, and it is actually the Lord's mercy that he takes the trouble to rectify our misbehavior, although faithless persons criticize the Lord's fatherly vigilance. Text 7. Even fools like me, who proudly think themselves universal lords, quickly give up their conceit and directly take to the path of the spiritually progressive, when they see you are fearless even in the face of time. Thus you punish the mischievous only to instruct them. Purport. So we should take that on board when we have some difficulty or some setbacks or some, we should take it as the mercy of the Lord. If we can learn to see it as the mercy of the Lord, then we can be happy in this world. Purport. History is filled with examples of the supreme authority breaking the conceit of foolish men. Modern world leaders proudly fight one another, placing the common people in unprecedented jeopardy. His apparently illustrious position dared to threaten the lives of the innocent residents of Vrindavan with terrible weapons until his arrogance was curbed by the dynamic response of the Supreme Lord. Nowadays, governments in the Western countries tend to be elected democratically, and thus the mass of people become identified with the destiny of their leaders. When the proud leaders engage in violence, the people who elected them bear the brunt of such belligerent decisions. Thus, the people in the democratic nations of the world should elect Krishna-conscious leaders who will establish and administer the laws of God. If they fail to do so, their materialistic leaders, oblivious of the will of the Supreme Lord, will undoubtedly be chastised by cataclysmic events. And the people who elected such leaders, being responsible for their leaders' acts, will share in the suffering. It is ironic that in modern democracies, not only do the leaders consider themselves universal controllers, but the mass of people, considering the leaders merely their representatives rather than the representatives of God, also consider themselves as a people to be the controllers of their nation. Thus, the chastisement mentioned in this verse has become unprecedentedly applicable to people in general in the modern world. Modern man should not simply make himself a lesson of nature by falling down from his proud position. Rather, he should submissively execute the will of the all-attractive personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, Sri Krishna, and usher in a new era of sanity, tranquility, and widespread enlightenment. Text 8. Engrossed in pride over my ruling power, ignorant of your majesty, I offended you. O Lord, may you forgive me. My intelligence was bewildered, but let my consciousness never again be so impure. Purport. Although Lord Krishna protected the residents of Braja by lifting Govardhan Hill, he had not yet punished Indra himself. And Indra feared that at any moment Sri Krishna might call the son of Vivaswan, Yamaraj, who punishes impudent persons who defy the laws of God. Indra was quite fearful, and thus begged the Lord's forgiveness on the plea that he could be purified only by Krishna's mercy, that he was too stubborn to learn a good lesson through mere punishment. In fact, despite Indra's humility in this case, his heart was not completely purified. Later on in this canto, we find that when Lord Krishna once took a parijata flower from Indra's kingdom, poor Indra again reacted violently against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, we should aspire to go back to our eternal home in the kingdom of Krishna and should not become entangled in the imperfect life of the material gods. Text 9. You descend into this world, O descendant. You descend into this world, O transcendent Lord, to destroy the warlords who burden the earth and create many. You simultaneously act for the welfare of those who faithfully serve your lotus feet. Purport. This verse utilizes an attractive poetic device. Lord Krishna's descent into the world is said to be for the abhava, literally non-existence or destruction of the demoniac warlords, and simultaneously for the bhava, or existence, prosperity, of those who faithfully serve the Lord's lotus feet. True existence indicated here by the word bhava is Satchidananda, eternal and full of bliss and knowledge. To an uninformed observer, it may appear that Sri Krishna is simply rewarding his followers and punishing his enemies the way an ordinary person might do. This specific doubt about the Lord is raised extensively in the 6th canto in connection with Krishna's taking the side of the faithful demigods against the faithless demons in a particular cosmic war. In that canto, the Vaishnava authorities clearly explain that in fact, Lord Krishna is the Father and Lord of all living beings, and that all his activities are therefore meant for the benefit of all existence. Lord, anyone. Rather, he curbs the foolishness of those who defy the laws of God. These laws are created to ensure the prosperity, harmony, and happiness of the entire creation, and their violation is an unjustifiable disturbance. Certainly Indra hoped that Lord Krishna would count him among the devotees and not the demons. Although considering Indra's actions, one might doubt where his loyalties actually lay. Indra was aware of this possible doubt, and thus, as we find in the next verse, he tried his best to surrender to the Supreme Lord. Text 10. Obeisance is unto you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Great Soul. Obeisance is unto you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Great Soul, who are all-pervading and who reside in the hearts of all. My obeisance is unto you, Krishna, the chief of the Yadu dynasty. Text 11. Unto him who assumes transcendental bodies according to the desires of his devotees, unto him whose form is itself pure consciousness, unto him who is everything, who is the seed of everything, and who is the soul of all creatures, that God is somehow impersonal, but assumes a personal material body. It is clearly said here that the Lord assumes different forms according to swachchanda, according to his own desire, or according to the desires of his devotees. An impersonal God could hardly reciprocate with the personal desires of its devotees, nor could an impersonal God itself have desires, since desire is characteristic of the Lord's manifesting different forms in a personal way, responding to personal desires, indicates that he is eternally a person and manifests his different transcendental bodies as an expression of his own eternal nature. The word Vishuddha Jnana Murtiye is most significant. Murti means the form of the deity, and it is specifically stated here that the Lord's form is itself completely pure consciousness. Consciousness is the primary spiritual element, distinct from any of the material elements, and even distinct from the subtle or psychological material elements, mundane mind, intelligence, and false ego, which are simply a psychic covering over pure consciousness. Since the Lord's form is made of pure consciousness, it can hardly be understood as a material body, like the mortal bags of flesh and bones we carry around in this world. In the last two lines of this verse, there's a poetic emphasis on the word sarva, everything. The Lord is everything. He is the seed of everything, and he is the soul of every creature. Therefore, let us join with Indra in offering our obeisances to the Lord. Text 12. My dear Lord, when my sacrifice was disrupted, I became fiercely angry because of false pride. Thus I tried to destroy your cowherd community with severe rain and wind. O Lord, you have shown mercy to me by shattering my false pride and defeating my attempt to punish Vrindavan. To you, the Supreme Lord, Spiritual Master, and Supreme Soul, I have now come for shelter. 14. Shukadev Goswami said, thus glorified by Indra, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead smiled and then spoke to him as follows, in a voice resonant like the clouds. Purport. Although in this pastime Lord Krishna appeared to be a small boy, the words Mega Gambhiraya Bacha indicate that he spoke to Indra with the deep, resonant voice of the Supreme Lord. Text 15. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Indra, it was out of mercy that I stopped the sacrifice meant for you. You were greatly intoxicated by your opulence as King of Heaven, and I wanted you to always remember me." Purport. According to Sridhar Swami, Indra and Lord Krishna here exchange a heart-to-heart talk. Indra revealed his mind to the Lord, and now Lord Krishna similarly reveals his own intention. In text 11 of this chapter, Indra emphatically declared that Lord Krishna is in fact everything, and thus, according to Indra's own criteria, forgetting Lord Krishna is clearly a state of insanity. Shall I read that again? I'm getting indications, positive indications from the audience. In text 11 of this chapter, Indra emphatically declared that Lord Krishna is in fact everything, and thus, according to Indra's own criteria, forgetting Lord Krishna is clearly a state of insanity. When the Supreme Lord reminds us of his supreme existence, he is not proudly advertising himself like a mundane politician or entertainer. The Lord is self-satisfied in his own infinite existence and is trying lovingly to bring us back to our own perfect existence as his eternal associates. From God's point of view, even the mighty King of Heaven, Indra, is a mere child, and a naughty child at that. And thus the Lord, being a caring father, punished his child and brought him back to the sanity of Krishna consciousness. Text 16 is preaching and people are coming to him. Many times they come and they just want bakshis or ashirvad, meaning mercy, benediction, blessing. They can't understand that the corrective instruction, or even sometimes corrective interaction, is the mercy of the Lord, is the mercy of the saintly person, is the most valuable gift. Translation. If I desire his real welfare, I drag him down from his materially fortunate position. Purport. One may argue, God should desire everyone's real welfare. Therefore, why should Lord Krishna state in this verse that he removes the intoxicating opulence of one who is about to receive his mercy, rather than simply stating that he will remove everyone's opulence and bless everyone? On the other hand, we may point out that irrevocable death occurs for everyone, and thus Lord Krishna does not, and thus Lord Krishna does take away everyone's opulence and everyone's false pride. However, if we apply the Lord's statement to events within one's immediate life, before death, we may refer to the Krishna's statement in the Bhagavad Gita 4:11, Yayatam mam prapadyante tang sataiva bhajamyaham. As people surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. Lord Krishna desires everyone's welfare, but when he says here, Yasya checham yanugraham, for one whose welfare I desire, it is to be understood that the Lord refers to those who by their own activities and thoughts have manifested a desire to be in Krishna consciousness. But when he sees that a specific person also desires spiritual happiness, the Lord especially desires it for that person. This is a natural act of reciprocation consistent with the Lord's statement, Samoham, Sarvabhuteshu. I am equal in my attitude to all living entities, to all living beings. Bhagavad Gita 9:29. Text 17. Indra, you may go now. Remain in your appointed position as King of Heaven, but be sober. Without fault, Indra, you can go now. Indra's the King of Heaven. I mean, he's a big guy, you know. He's got so many followers, and he's like providing for the sustenance of the whole universe. Got demigods come and, you know, worship him. It was he who, when Brihaspati, his guru, came into the assembly when he was having a particularly gala event. The Apsaras were dancing, Gandharvas were singing, the mantra chanters were singing his praises, Vedic hymns. It was all very Vedic and very wonderful. But when Brihaspati came in, he didn't even notice him, his spiritual master. And therefore, Brihaspati said, okay, I understand. And he just walked out. And he disappeared. He hid himself. And Indra realized immediately, because he's intelligent, Indra. He's actually a devotee. That's why he's coming to offer these wonderful prayers to Krishna. He's actually a devotee. But the material world is so contaminating that when you get a service that requires you in service to Krishna and in service to everyone really, such power and such wealth and such aristocracy and such sensual, you know, gratification, then so easy to forget. Everyone, anyone. The Gita says there's no one in the three worlds who is not affected by the three modes of material nature. No one. Only Krishna is never affected by the three modes of material, or an absolutely pure devotee of Krishna. But all the demigods, no matter what their position are, no matter how elevated they are influenced by the modes of material nature. Therefore, the only recourse that they have, actually the only resource that anybody has, is to surrender to Krishna. Okay, Indra, you may go now. Execute my order and remain in your appointed position as King of Heaven. But be sober, without false pride. Purport. Lord Krishna here addresses Indra in the plural form, Vaha, because this grave instruction was meant to be a lesson for all the demigods. Text 18. Mother Surabhi, along with her progeny, the cows, then offered her obeisances to Lord Krishna. Respectfully requesting his attention, the gentle deity addressed the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was present, who played with Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. Although Lord Krishna's cows are transcendental, the heavenly cow, Surabhi, affectionately saw them, as indeed Lord Krishna himself did, as related to her. Since Lord Krishna was appearing in the form of a cowherd boy, the whole situation was quite congenial, and Surabhi took the opportunity to offer the following prayers. Text 19. Mother Surabhi said, O Krishna, Krishna, greatest of mystics, O soul and origin of the universe, you are the master of the world, and by your grace, O infallible Lord, we have you as our master. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur points out here that Mother Surabhi is feeling great ecstasy as she repeats the words, Krishna, Krishna. Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill by his mystic power and thus protected the cows of Vrindavan, whereas her so-called master Indra had tried to kill them. Purport. The Supreme Lord is self-sufficient. He can do everything himself. The Lord appointed one of his innumerable children to the position of Indra, the Lord of the cosmic heaven. But Indra abused his authority, and now Surabhi requests Lord Krishna, the absolute truth, to directly become of King Indra, who actually attacked Lord Krishna and his Vrindavan devotees. Text 21. As ordered by Lord Brahma, we shall perform your bathing ceremony to coronate you as Indra, the soul of the universe. You descend to this world to relieve the burden of the earth. Purport. Surabhi makes it quite clear in this verse that she has had enough of the leadership of the imperfect demigods like Purandara, Indra. And now she is determined to directly serve the Supreme Lord. Since Brahma has ordered her, her attempt to coronate Lord Krishna as her personal Lord is authorized by higher authority. Moreover, Lord Krishna himself comes down to the earth to relieve the burden of the self-destructive, mundane administration. And thus it is perfectly consistent with the Lord's own purpose that he become the Lord of Surabhi. Since the Lord rules millions of universes, he can certainly take care of Mother Surabhi. In fact, Surabhi wants to bathe the Lord for her own purification, and she earnestly makes her proposal to Vishwatma, the soul of the universe, Sri Krishna. Text 22 and 23. Shukadev Goswami said, having thus appealed to Lord Krishna, Mother Surabhi performed his bathing ceremony with her own milk. And Indra, ordered by Aditi and other mothers of the demigods, anointed the Lord with heavenly Ganga water from the trunk of Indra's elephant carrier, Airavata. Thus, in the company of the demigods and great sages, Indra coronated Lord Krishna, the descendant of Dashara, and gave him the name Govinda. Purport. Govinda was embarrassed by his blunder of attacking Vrindavan. He was reluctant to worship the Lord, such as Aditi encouraged him to go ahead and do so. Feeling authorized by the encouragement of demigods less offensive than he, Indra then bathed the Lord. Indra discovered that the beautiful cowherd boy named Krishna is indeed the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 24. The most eminent demigods chanted the praises of the Lord and scattered wonderful showers of flowers all around him. All three worlds felt supreme satisfaction, and the cows drenched the surface of the earth with their milk. Purport. The word Ketava means literally banners. The leading demigods are the emblems or banners of the demigod race, and they took the lead in glorifying the Lord and covering him with an amazing shower of multicolored, fragrant flowers. Text 26. Rivers flowed with various kinds of tasty liquids. trees exuded honey, edible plants became to maturity. Without jet lag. Or maybe it's something else. Anyway, rivers flowed with various kinds of tasty liquids. Trees exuded interiors. 27. O Parikshit, beloved of the Kuru dynasty, upon the ceremonial bathing of Lord Krishna, all living creatures, even those cruel by nature, became entirely free of enmity. Purport. Those corrupted by a type of sophisticated cynicism. Oh, I got to read that again. Those corrupted by a type of sophisticated cynicism may mock these descriptions of a paradisiacal world. I've got to learn how to say every word perfectly. Paradisiacal. I'll read it again. I don't get it. I have to do this when I'm doing the audiobook. I have to get it right. So I go back over it and over it. Sometimes I'll go to the computer and find out how to say it properly so I can say it properly. Purport. Those corrupted by a type of sophisticated cynicism may mock these old paradisiacal paradise. Those corrupted by a type of sophisticated cynicism may mock these descriptions of a paradisiacal world situation effected simply by worshipping the Supreme Lord. Unfortunately, modern man has created a hell on earth in his cynical rejection of heaven on earth, which is actually possible through Krishna consciousness. The situation described here, created simply by the auspicious bathing ceremony of the Lord, is an authentic historical incident. Such history repeats itself. Since history repeats itself, there is hope that the Krishna consciousness movement may again bring the world community to the brilliant reality of self-realized existence. What an elevated goal. Text 28, and that's just to become a human being. What to speak of an eternal associate of the Lord. Text 28. After he had ceremonially bathed Lord Govinda, who is the master of the cows and the cowherd community, Lord Indra took the Lord's permission and, surrounded by the demigods and other higher beings, returned to his heavenly abode. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 27th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Krishna and Mother Surabhi offer prayers. This is an act. This is an act in the supreme drama. Therefore, when we finish an act, we give so he gives us the next act. But I'm going to beg tonight the mercy of the audience, those of you out in cyberspace who are watching live. I don't know how many are watching live because it's a difficult time in the middle of the day. In England, it's in the middle of the day. In America, it's early in the night, early in the morning. So, but I'm going to ask to indulge me and allow me to stop early tonight, because I am quite jet lagged and I need to rest. So I thank you very much. I'm going to skip reflections tonight, properly, unless anyone has a reflection. I don't want to pull anyone else's plug just because mine's pulled. Somebody? I think they're just indulging me, as I already said they should. Anyway, thank you very much for attending. I made my vow to do it every night no matter what, and so I'm doing that. And by your mercy, may I continue for the rest of my life without stoppage. Indra got his mercy, and every one of us gets mercy. Sometimes it may be in the form of success, sometimes it may be in the form of failure, sometimes it may be in the form of fame, sometimes it may be in the form of infamy, but it is all Krishna's mercy. And that's what this pastime particularly displays to us, so that we can stay high forever. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. We'll see you tomorrow night, same time, same station, 6 o'clock, IST, Indian Standard Time. There's only one time in India. It's a big country, but there's only one time, and it's a half it's a half hour different also. Hare Krishna.